What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the temporary table. My name is Valor, and this is the Hummingbird, made by Timmy Wen, also known as the creator of the Saber and the Falcon, which are all sort of half-dart shooters. Well, the Saber is a full-length shooter, which, is more of a P90 styled thing. Be sure to watch something like Drax's video on it if you want to get a good idea of how that thing looks and works. But this is his latest offering in the form of a half-dart shooter that uses a daybreak system, which is quite nice because it does provide a good amount of performance with half-darts and flywheels, which half-darts and flywheels usually need a little bit more extra power to get sent through and actually have any sort of power, but this thing does it in spades. As you can see, this is sort of a Chris Vector-ish style platform because the magwell is angled, if you can see that. And it feeds just fine the way it is. And you drop that mag, which this magwell is nice and loose. And the sort of construction of this is very nice. It uses pins to access the battery and the internal mechanism if something jams or you need to tweak something or something like that. And it uses the same size pins as the caliper, and just some clevis pins, which you push. I have set just so I can push from the other side, and it lifts away, and there you go. There's my 3S graphene. Let's see, this back. The connector right there is getting in the way. And it's got a decent amount of room in here, so you can have a nice, beefy sized lipo in here. Let's stick it in from this side. It's a little bit, there we go. Now, the better option would be to have some of the adjustable ones with a hole in here so you can stick a small pin through just to help keep it in place. Mine are fairly snug. The battery compartment one is slightly loose, but I can always fix that. And the top one is more snug, but here you go, pull it out. And it just lifts straight off. And there you can see the internals of this, and it sits quite nicely with the flat bottom on the battery cover. And the internals are very simple. It's just a 2-switch Fly with the World hyperdrive solenoid pusher system, which has day brakes, and it just feeds nicely in there with this nice guide up here. So now, if you're hearing a bit of a roar and a rumble, it's actually because these wheels are salvaged from another blaster, so they're not the best balanced right now. I'm waiting for Autodarts or whoever to have them back in stock so I can get myself a fresh set so it'll be nice and consistent. And also that leads into performance, but I will talk about that in a minute. Let me just set this back on here. And it has rails all over, so you're not going to have need of rails if you like using things like, say, an ammo counter or whatever. And that one's nice and snug. I'm not worried about it falling out. And yes, this thing has brass filament on it, which is quite nice. It is from Protopasta. It is basically just PLA with, I forget the percentage of brass powder it has in it, but it's enough that once you polish it back or whatever, either with a rock tumbler, which I would have preferred doing, or by hand, it will reveal the metal, and then you can actually age it or just clear coat it to keep it nice and brass shiny. I decided to age it because that is a very, very unique thing to do. And what I did is I used salt and ammonia, which those are a bit of a potent combo, so you want to do that outside, but the whole concept is just put on there with the salt and everything. I let it kind of sit in the creases here, and periodically I would just refresh and just spritz a little more ammonia over the parts, and then maybe a little bit extra salt and all that, and just left it for about a day or so, and then let it dry out, washed all the salt off, and it gave me this lovely, lovely patina over all these parts, which it's not super, super shiny. Then I hit the edges with a little bit extra sandpaper to kind of brighten them up a little bit, just to sort of get a little bit of a flare, and then I hit it with a light coat of clear coat just to kind of protect the patina because it will wear off if you handle it a bunch, which you can see right here, which is where I intentionally handled it so the patina would just stay in the creases and all that, so it actually looks aged. Moving to the back, there is a custom N-Strike stock point adapter that I designed myself, which I even sent the files of this over to Drac, which in the newest version I have the end capped off, and it just prints the same way as the original buffer tube adapter, which I also have, but I prefer more of a pistol design. So it is a bit of a front heavy pistol with all the brass, because this actually is real brass, so it does have a little extra heft. But if that's much of an issue, I can just two-hand it, and yeah. And if I really want to, I can just slap whatever stock on here. I actually want to get myself a folding stock from Worker, so I can just fold it off to the side and keep it all nice and compact. Another addition I'd probably make is I'd probably swap out this rail for a holster panel, so I can just slap it on my side, and that'll be it. Moving on to the grip, I've got just a 3D printed AR-15 style grip. This is one I found on Thingiverse, and it works quite well. It's very similar to the grip on the Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso blasters, minus this little ridge right there. And it's comfy enough. I mean, it's got the right angle, so I can shoot fairly straight, just aiming at my regular wrist angle. And yeah, I'm very happy with this sort of look. The purple is I believe it's, I got this one as a sort of no-name brand PLA, but it looks almost exactly like Airy One brand glitter purple. I believe this one was called Genesis Purple in the no-name, but it prints really well and is really, really sparkly. It is beautiful, and it prints really well on my printer, so what more could I ask for, really? And yeah, like, it's a beautiful little half-dart shooter. Now, with mag compatibility, it is obviously compatible with Talons. That's what he designed it for. And the mag drops just fine with the mag release right in front of the finger. You just bump it with your knuckle. It is also compatible with Tanos mags. So these work quite well. You just have to kind of push forward like this to get them to catch fully in there. There you go. And they'll feed just fine. They are a little bit wobblier, and you also need to push your finger in a little bit more to get them to release, because they do shift forward with the spring and all that, so that's just something to keep in mind. But I believe most people will end up using just proper injection molded Talons anyway. And oddly and surprisingly enough, it is also compatible with the Equalizer mag by Devil's Nerf Works. And they fit a whole lot better because they are a little bit thicker, so a little bit less play in them, and they hold quite well, and they still drop, so that is a nice little feature to have. And plus, they look quite nice with them being lower profile in the whole system. And yes, this is a flared magwell, just to make your life a little bit easier with reloading on the fly. This is a really good competitive style blaster, which it was hitting a little bit too hot for Ragfest, so Timmy wasn't able to use it for his team's competitive, but he still had it with him to show off and all that. And yes, I'm going to power up my chronograph, and I'm going to turn on my phone, and I'm going to clear out all these numbers, and I will fire through the chronograph, and then you'll be able to see it on my phone here, which I will zoom in now, and you'll be able to see my numbers. Oh. Would probably help if I stuck the mag in. Several of those were hitting the side of my chronograph because one of the wheels on this is warped, so it's causing all the darts to kick to the side. But that first shot you saw was 140 or so. Was the 148? Yeah. There's a 104 in there, but there was a 142. So this thing hits quite hard for a half dart flywheeler, and the fact that it's one hand wheelable with my pistol stock adapter, it works quite well that way. So that is quite impressive. Once I get some new wheels, I will definitely do a redo of my numbers and all that, and maybe even have a plinking session with this blaster. But that is the Hummingbird, my friends. It is available on his Etsy page for the princely sum of, I think, about 250 or so. So, but that comes with Magpul hardware, you know, like with a Magpul grip and a Magpul buffer tube stock. So, you get some really high quality parts with it. So, that's nothing to bat an eye at. And if you really want to be able to support his work and everything, he's going to release the files for this eventually. But he just wants to be able to sell some first so he can sort of recoup his designing and research and development costs and all that. So as ever, I'll drop a link down to Timmy's Etsy page where you can get these. You can get them in loads of different colors, and his print quality is really, really good. He has a Delta style printer, which allows him to print really tall things and everything like the Saber. But the fact that he has a Delta style printer means that there is no ringing or anything, which I managed to sort of get around that by slowing my printer down a little bit. But yes, as ever, my name is Valor. I'll drop all links down below to my Patreon as well if you want to help support the channel. And as ever, please stay tuned for the next video. Bye for now.